Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Evolve lesson. So, for this week, I want to talk about payroll companies, and specifically the top three payroll companies that you could potentially use as you grow your business or start to look outside for, additional support within your company. So, overall, what do payroll companies offer? Well, most importantly, they offer payroll processing, so they can automatically calculate how much each employee makes. You essentially give them their like, hey, this person's going to make $30,000 a year. That's their salary paycheck. Or, I have an employee and they work 10 hours this week and 15 hours that week, and they're at $15 an hour or $20 an hour. They'll do the calculations and take out the correct calculations for taxes, account for overtime, holiday pay, etc. Same thing here is, if you do overtime, which most likely you won't need to because of servicing valets and stuff like that, really a part-time job. And holiday pay, you take most of the major holidays off, so that's not going to happen. But you might consider an additional bump pay if someone picks up a shift, right, or something like that, or someone calls in and they have to be called in or on call that night, kind of as an incentive. But like, hey, instead of making 17 an hour, now we'll bump you for that one night to 20 an hour. They do new hire reporting and then paid time off management. So that's more the PTO is more on your when you get more towards the corporate style, or at least out of uh, paying essentially an employee hourly. They file and pay payroll taxes. So services can withhold employee taxes, file quarterly payroll tax reports, and pay tax withholdings. So you'll set up all your accounts associated with your um, with your bank accounts to pay as needed. A lot of times, if you're just working this or starting this off, and it's just you and your partner, you'll probably just be taking checks out of the business marked as as pay. But as you grow and have employees, you'll have them fill out their tax forms so that you know what withholding to give them, because not only are they going to be taxed, but you're going to be taxed as well on that. So for your the social security and all that kind of all those additional taxes that you pay half of for an employee. So so just be wary of that when your an employee takes out pay, you're still paying your federal share of taxes to support that. Mobile access, and then payroll reports. So payroll reports obviously would be needed, as you go down to kind of, see if there's areas that you can cut the fat from or not, as well. Advantages to using a payroll company. So a payroll company actually helps, on your headcount. So it pays your employees more efficiently, and it automates your HR tasks. So at this point in your company, if you've gotten, a couple people under your belt and you're growing and you're looking for a payroll company, the automation factor is great because with some payroll companies, you can literally just, it's scheduled and they, you call it in and they pull it out when it's ready to go. Or if you're still working manually on your end, through like a QuickBooks or something like that, you go in and you just submit your payroll with a couple of clicks of a button, and it does the rest of it for you. And then your employee can set up direct deposit and all that stuff like that, so it's within their bank account on the day that you have marked for their pay, whether you're paying twice a month, bi-weekly, weekly, whatever it might be. It helps maintain your employer compliance. So this is another thing where each state, you're going to have to, if you have like an actual building, they have you put up signs, employee signs and all that kind of stuff that's required by state law. So it offers state unemployed insurance. Some can do that as well, as kind of try to group stuff in for you. And it offers garnishment payment services. So I would just ask what they do to help with compliance, because some will offer the signage that you need, and some will go a little bit further. They help manage recruiting and people. So hiring a new employee can cost up to $4,000 without a payroll company's assistance. So this is, like I said, it's just kind of as you're structuring somebody within your company and putting them through through payroll and all that stuff. It kind of can be, you don't want to necessarily check a box or not check a box that you need to, right? So this is where not only the automation is great, but at the same time, they're just over there to help oversee everything. So oversee HR rules and regulations. Some include a live team of HR professionals to answer questions And that's just determine whether that's a call in or a chat box if you have specific questions about HR requirements that you need to fulfill. And they help avoid unnecessary fines and fees. Your tax and payroll penalties. If you don't pay your taxes on time, you could be due an additional fine assessed. Also, if you offer a 401k, they can help there, as that can be taken out of payroll as well. But 401k is further down the line once the company's really solidified, in earnings. So the top three payroll companies, these are obviously my own biases. It could be, so I suggest that you do your own research on this. Gusto is best for S corps and sole proprietors. Serves regular employees and independent contractors, and can run an unlimited amount of payrolls each month. So that's kind of huge, because usually it depends on the cost of the payroll. But if you have enough or a larger team and you're running a lot of payrolls, that can cost you quite a bit of money. So that's definitely something to check into if your team is starting to get larger. Paychex, best for larger businesses, ability to pay salaries, hourly, and contract workers, and a free mobile app. It's always great to have the free mobile app, because as the business owner, you're always on the go for the most part, or in and out of meetings, and you kind of need to check to make sure things have processed properly, especially up front if you're still managing a lot of things and you're kind of converting over to be more hands off. You still need to check in on occasion, because it is your business, and you want to make sure the money's going to the right places. And then Intuit QuickBooks. I personally use QuickBooks. I use QuickBooks Online because I like the ability to, navigate, through a mobile app, or even, just have my more hands-on experience. And then plus my accountant they have authorization to log in, and they can log in and view things as needed and make adjustments. Best for small businesses, wide range of service plans with unlimited payroll runs, and simple, understandable user experience. Overall, like I said, I use QuickBooks Online because it's fairly simple. And once you integrate all your accounts, and your tax accounts, it's pretty easy to run payroll. It's, about 3 clicks, review, finalize, submit. And then even if you haven't ever forgotten, they'll send you, email updates close to the time saying, hey, you need to run payroll, or hey, it's time to pay taxes at the end of the month or the end of the quarter, whatever you have your setup for. So final takeaways from this is really, payroll companies offer a variety of services, including processing and PTO management. Like I said, PTO will be like when you get quite a few more employees under you, but overall, they can be a great asset to have in your corner, because they take relief off of. There's nothing worse than if you've ever been with a company and it gets to a point where the person running payroll is inefficient, or is forgetful, and doesn't really run it on time. Nothing's more frustrating than that. Now imagine that through if you have 5 or 10 valets that you're trying to run payroll for, and you keep missing your Friday, deadline for checks. It's going to irritate them, and they're going to want to leave the company, because the worst thing for them is not being paid on time. So there are advantages to using a payroll company, such as avoiding unnecessary fees and fines. Like I said, they're there to make sure everything is set up properly, so that you don't miss anything. Because that's the hardest part of being a business owner, right? You're there to wear 20 or 30 hats. You have to do the marketing, the sales, the integration. You have to do everything up front first. So as you grow your company, you've at least kind of touched on all those things. But a payroll company is there to make sure that they help navigate you with taxation, the taxation side of things, making sure everyone is in compliance and paid on time as well. And then once again, the top 3 payroll companies that we just kind of went over, which I suggest if you don't have one already in place, Gusto, Paychex, and then QuickBooks. QuickBooks, you can, like I said, do it online, or you can do an actual, software version on your computer if you have an in-house accountant. Or if you work already with your local CPA, they might have a suggestion for you that they integrate really well with, because if you're using them to do a lot of your taxes and things like that, they'll need access to it, and just say, hey, what's the best way, if I'm looking to do this, what's the best way that you recommend, since you deal with my day-to-day taxes, or my, annual, tax submission. So, that's it for this week's Evolve. Thanks a lot for coming in and hanging out and talking about payroll companies with me. And we'll see you next week. Bye.